evening, afternoon, morning, everyone, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're good. Welcome in, Neil. Welcome in, Sai. I think I saw Selby in the chat before it even gone live, which is amazing. For those of you that were on the last stream, I've still got this weird blurry camera thing going on. If I move too much, I'm really sorry. It's just been one of those weeks. I haven't had a chance to mess around with it, and I was fearing making it worse. So bear with me with that. In 5 minutes' time, you're not even going to be concentrating on me anyway. You'll be listening to our awesome guest. But yeah, I don't need anyone to put out in chat on wherever we're working through it. I hope you're all good, guys. I hope your Sunday has been kind. I hope if you're returning to work in the last week, that hasn't been too mad. I certainly didn't enjoy my first day back on Thursday and all the hundreds of emails. It's amazing, even though you have an out of office set. I always do this where I return to work, but I have the out of office set for a couple of days afterwards just to give me a bit of a buffer. The amount of people that just ignored that and just chased. And I did have to pull out the whole, you do know I have a chronic illness, right? At least 2 or 3 times for people who were chasing, despite me having an out of office set saying, I'm not returning until Monday and I have a chronic illness, bear that in mind. So yeah, we keep fighting, guys. We live in hope that one day people might take these things. The bit that winds me up is when the emails are about advocacy work, because you know what you're signing up for if you're emailing me, and I'm not always going to be able to get back to you instantly. But there we go. That's my rant for the new year over. Happy New Year to the rest of you guys. I hope yours is going a little bit easier than ours. We've got a sick 4-year-old in the house. It's been a long weekend stuck at home. I haven't been able to get out of the house. So you are my socialization this weekend, guys. This is literally my first contact with the outside world since Friday. So I hope you're all good. Welcome in, Valerie. Welcome in, Amy. I hope you're all well, guys. If this is your, sorry for the regulars, I have to say this every time because new guests bring new people and we never know if it's their first time here. But first of all, welcome to the Chronic Pain Club talk show. We're not limited to pain, but basically we share lived experiences. There are only so many times that I can talk about my lived experiences. So we exist to create a platform to share other people's and to elevate them, shine a spotlight on their experiences. 1, to try and educate, remove stigma, etc. But 2, to help other people feel a little lesser known. If one person watches this tonight or on rerun on YouTube or a few months down the line listening to it on the podcast, and they feel less alone or less like they've failed or less like, they were the only person in the world thinking the way that they were, then we have achieved what we set out here to do. So thank you for joining us. If it is your first time here, please do say hello in chat. There's some awesome people here. And a very quick bit of admin to let you know before the interview starts about the chat. At the moment, it's on screen so that everybody can talk together. You will see little icons next to people's names based on what platform they're watching on. The majority is on YouTube, as you can see on screen. So when the interview starts, we hide the chat off screen. We do that to protect our guest and also to make sure that, we can reuse the footage because there isn't some unkind comment on screen or something. But the chat continues, guys, on the platform that you're watching. If you're watching on my Facebook page, hello, welcome. But you'll only be able to chat once the interview starts with the people you see on chat in Facebook. And if you're watching on YouTube, the same goes there. You'll be able to chat with the people watching on YouTube. But as you can see, if you want to get involved in the conversation, we exist here as a peer support community first and foremost. Yes, we do the interview, and yes, that is like the headline of the show whilst we're here and live, but ultimately we only exist because there is a peer support community need that people take something from being supported by other people that understand, and lots of people turn up here every week in, week out, sometimes more than I do because health permitting and all that, and talk amongst themselves, support each other. So please do carry that on whilst the interview is ongoing. We won't be offended. It won't be like disrespectful to our guest. Our guest won't see it, and it really does help us in 2 ways. It helps our community. Have some sort of support and some social space and a place where they can kind of share stuff and feel safe. But it also helps with the way the internet works as well. The more people chatting, the more people giving this video a thumbs up, the more people sharing it, commenting, etc. All those usual things that you hear every YouTuber in the world say. They say it for a reason because it generally does help. So if you are watching, say hello, or at least give the video a like wherever it is that you're watching, whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And yeah, thank you for joining us, guys. And it's going to be an absolutely awesome one tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. And it's one that probably should have happened a long time ago. For those regulars that are on the show, will know that I've been struggling quite a bit with feeling like a bit of an imposter on this advocacy journey. And it's only probably the last 6 months I've started asking people that I really, really wanted to ask to come on the show. Up until then, it was kind of people would come and ask me and I'd say yes, and then we'd have the chat, and that was all great, and there's lots of value in all of that. But there's definitely been a handful of people that I really wanted on the show, and I was worried they were too big for me, or I was too insignificant, and all them other things that happened. I can see Ali laughing away in the green room. All those other things that happen in this advocacy journey for a lot of us, and the imposter sort of feelings that come with it. And maybe that's something Ali will talk about tonight as well. But that's so we've got some really exciting stuff coming up on the show, guys. Please do keep a lookout on my Facebook page and on the YouTube page where some live events are. We tend to put a couple up in advance. There is a lot more booked in. We're fully booked for January. We're fully booked for February, and I think March is half booked. And amongst that, we've got medical professionals, we've got patient organisations coming on. We've got a really special one with one particular patient organisation, which I'm looking forward to. And if you're watching this and you'd like to get involved, guys, and you'd like your organisation to come on, talk about the good work that you're doing for patients or in the advocacy space, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. We have as many actually people watch us in the US as we do right on cue, Lisa. Welcome from Pennsylvania. Watch us from the US as we do in the UK and Europe. So if you want to get involved, guys, DMs are always open. Please do. I'm conscious of the time. I don't want to leave our guests waiting any longer, guys. So what we'll do, like I said, chat will now come off screen. So for a split second, you'll get a big picture of me. So I'm really sorry for that. We're going to kill the music because we don't want to forget that. But trust me, those of you that have been here for a long time will know that happened very regularly, where I would be doing the introduction and the music would be playing. But no, we're learning. We're learning on the job. One thing I need to do is get rid of the show starting. So no one pointed that one out to me. See, still learning. Thanks, guys. If you've got anything to say during the show, please do. We'll feature the best ones on screen. But for now, I would very much like to welcome our awesome guest. We have joining us tonight, all the way from America, Ali DiGiacomo, who is a patient advocate, personal trainer, chronic illness social media superstar. I hope they don't mind me saying, with over 135,000 followers on TikTok alone, which is just mad. Ali, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you onto the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
And this does feel very long overdue, doesn't it? Like, bearing in mind, we've been sort of interacting on social media for years, or you'll maybe talk about the pandemic and that sort of thing later on. But yeah, thank you for finding some time to join us. I appreciate it's in the middle of your Sunday where you are. So very much grateful of you being here tonight.
I'm very excited.
So obviously I know you really well, but I don't want to take that for granted. So for anyone that hasn't come across your work, we don't need to go into too much detail because we'll cover that later, but maybe just like a little bit who you are, where you're from, what it is roughly you do, and then we'll deep dive. Is that okay?
Yeah. So my name is Ali. I was born in the US, but I actually grew up in Saudi Arabia. But I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, I should say juvenile idiopathic arthritis, at the age of 15. And I was a competitive swimmer trying to go to university for swimming. I did get diagnosed, and then everything kind of went downhill then. But I was 15, I was in school, and I didn't tell anybody that I got diagnosed with a chronic illness. Luckily, I did okay. I had surgery, and then I was fine for 6 years. But after the 6 years, right after I graduated university, when my arthritis came back in full force, I was unable to walk. I had to use a cane. For 7 weeks, I was not able to walk. And then I started taking medication and going through that journey still alone. So I didn't know anybody with an autoimmune disease, let alone RA. So I decided, after going through this alone for another 5 years, that I was going to start talking about it on social media, because I just craved connection. Like, I craved talking to somebody who got it. So I made my first post, and I did hashtag the drug I was on. And with that, I met so many people on the same drug. And then I met people my age with rheumatoid arthritis, and I was like so excited, and my life completely flip-flopped. And then I started to bring awareness that way. And then when COVID hit, I started to make kind of silly videos about having a chronic illness. And that's when my TikTok took off and Instagram took off. And I went from knowing nobody with an autoimmune disease to knowing thousands, which to me is crazy. So,
and know everybody in that community knowing you and your story as well. But it's really fascinating you said in that introduction. We'll dig into that a little bit, because you're not the first person that's come on the show with JIA and said about how you didn't share it and everything. I was one of those people as well who didn't do that, having been diagnosed with at 12 years old. And then that big flare around the time of university, that is such a common theme that I really need to do more research on, because I think we've now had 3 people on the show with JIA that have said, I thought it was gone. Doctors told me I was grave, etc. And then it came back with a bang, and I wasn't equipped for it. So before we sort of get into that, and I do want to circle back to that, do you want to maybe just tell us about, how it onset, what it looked like, what were the first symptoms, etc.?
Absolutely. So when I was 15, I was a swimmer, but at the time I was playing water polo. Now I'm very tiny, and that is not a person to do water polo, but they wanted me because I was a fast swimmer, so I could quick get the ball. Now, at that time, I had done 2 Junior Olympics. I was trying to go to university. I was a great swimmer, right? But I couldn't keep myself above water that day. And when I hopped out of the pool, my knee was 3 times its size. So immediately, my teachers, and luckily my mom was there because I was actually in boarding school. So my mom was there. We all immediately thought it was an injury, right? Because I was swimming. Although swimming is a very hard sport to get injured in. We went to the doctors and they drained my knee. So my knee was actually full of fluid. And if you have arthritis, you're probably aware of this. And they drained it. And based off the color of the fluid, the doctor was like, she might have JIA. At that time, it was called JRA. So this was 15 years ago. So they were like, she might have juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And we were like, how do you know? Like, you just drained fluid. Fast forward, I went back home to Saudi Arabia and I had an MRI. They found a mass behind my kneecap. And when they removed it, the surgeon, when he was in there, said that my joint looked like that of a 65-year-old's. So he said, you have rheumatoid arthritis. The tumor was benign. But at that time, he said, you're probably going to be okay for 6 years, and then it's probably going to come back. And so I went on steroids. And I had to get my knee drained one more time after that, but I was okay. So the swimming career went downhill because I was a breaststroker, which means your legs have to like go like that. And so swimming went downhill. I ended up giving up sports entirely. When I went to university, I just completely stopped moving because I guess I had so much trauma from the past in high school. And so after the 6 years, I didn't have to be medicated, which was lovely. I did steroids for a couple months, went off the steroids, and I was unmedicated, which to me is a dream. Like, how did that happen? And then I had joint damage, of course, because my joint looked like I was 65. I'm 30 now, so I guess it looks like I'm 85. But in university, I was okay. So much, in fact, that when I studied abroad in Italy, I lived on like the top floor of a building, and it's 85 steps up and down, and I was fine. A year later, it comes back again. My knee is filling with fluid. I was in denial that I had rheumatoid arthritis because it had been so long. It had been 6 years. And also, it was only in one joint. So it was in my right knee. And with RA, usually it's both sides of the body get affected. So usually it's the other knee. So I was in denial. And for 7 weeks, because I was in denial and didn't want to take medication, I visited about 8 doctors in the 7 week period throughout the US. And I wanted to absolutely make sure it was RA. And within the 7 week period, I had to get my knee drained 7 times. So I would get it drained, and then within a week, it would be completely swollen again, about like 3 times its size. So I was constantly getting it drained. And if you have arthritis and ever got it drained before, it's called an aspiration. You know you're at risk for infection every time you get it drained. So by the 7th draining, my doctor was like, we will not be draining this knee again. So you either need to not be able to walk or start methotrexate, which is a lovely drug that I'm actually going off of now. But she was like, you need to start it. And starting medication can be very scary, especially being a 21-year-old. And so, yes, so then I started the medication journey, and it's been crazy ever since then. But those 6 years were bliss. They were lovely.
I could totally relate when you say about, in denial. Mine was, I thought I was making it up because when
Yeah.
I went into remission, and I have psoriatic associated JIA rather than rheumatoid. Mine doesn't show on X-rays. I'll see the historical damage, but I won't see the flares, the blood sort of clear, etc. And I can't tell you then when you have a period of remission how it is, like you say, you either in denial or you think you're a fraud, and suddenly that seed is planted that you almost like carry for life every time you go flare and remiss. I don't know if that's something you sort of, did you find you got over it, or does that still happen when you go into remission? You think, oh, this will be it now, I'm fixed.
So I actually haven't gone into remission since
Oh,
then. So, the denial phase ended on the 7th draining where she was like, "No." Oh, actually, also the denial ended because shortly after that, I started the medication, I had surgery again. So, I had arthroscopic knee surgery. It's pretty invasive, it's not pretty intense, it's easy. They just go in there, shred it up, suck it out, super easy. But it was my second one, and I did it about 4 months after. Pretty fascinating that the surgeon said you had 6 years until you have to do the surgery again, and he was like to a T, like 2 months away from the 6-year mark. I had to have
yeah.
surgery again. And the doctor I was actually the denial set in. So I was sitting in the doctor's office and I was waiting for the results, right? So I'm 21 at this time. I'm like, I bet you they're going to come in here and tell me it's not RA. Like I hyped myself up. I was like, it's not. She like waltzes in. I remember she was like skipping in. She must have had a really good day. And she was like, yep. She was so excited. She's like, oh, yep, it's RA. Like we thought. And I was like, like we thought. I was like, what? So that moment is when I was like, okay, I am no longer in denial. I have RA, so let's just move on and figure out how to live with this. So yeah, but since then I haven't really been in remission. I have been in a medicated remission for a short period of time, but I'm trying to get diagnosed with a second problem. So yeah, I've no more denial for me.
And did they ever just have interest from my own sort of personal learning? I'm a lot older than you, but a big issue for people like me over here in the UK who have JIA and of that sort of 30 to 40 bracket now is that so many of us were told we'd grow out of it. So then we weren't prepared for when we didn't. Was that a conversation that happened with you, or was it just like you've got RA and therefore it's
Yeah.
there for good?
I actually didn't know you could possibly grow out of it. So that was never brought up with
Okay.
me and my American and Saudi doctors. So
Yeah, no, it's about 40-50% of us continue to have arthritis into
yeah.
adulthood.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, the plan was always, oh, by the time you get to about 16, you'll probably grow
Mm,
out of it. And then you go
mm.
into remission at 16 and everyone stops and then it comes back and
Yeah.
you're not ready for it. So yeah, sorry, that's a very personal, selfish question because it was
No,
not.
I love it. I'm kinda glad I didn't know about that. Even though I was already in denial, I'm glad I didn't know that it's possible to grow out of it.
Yeah, no, I don't think that conversation happens so much now, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, yeah, back then that is what it was almost like this hope they would give you, but then it meant you had
Yes.
no plan B, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like we should because methotrexate always gets a bad rap. It comes up a lot on this show. I was on it from the age of 14 till about my mid 20s. It didn't end well, but I always say
Mm.
while it worked, and I'm grateful for that. What's your experience on methotrexate being?
Oh, methotrexate, we have a long history together. Oh my goodness. I just actually injected it last night for the first time in my stomach. I've been injecting
Yeah.
for 4.5 years. I've never done my stomach before, and I was so scared. It was like I was injecting for the first time. I'm not a fan, I must say. I get it, but I'm not a fan. So methotrexate, it was the first drug I've ever gone on for arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. And I think with PSA too, it's like usually the first drug they throw at us. From yeah, so if you're newly getting diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, you'll hear methotrexate a lot. Like it's usually the first thing that the doctors give you. They usually give you a pill form, and then you can usually go to the injection form because people tend to tolerate the injection better because it doesn't go through your digestive system. But for me, I decided because I was 21, my mom was visiting me at the time. I had a new job, and I actually had to quit that job because I couldn't walk. And I was so excited. It was my first job out of university. I was a film student, so I was a production assistant on a reality show. And I was devastated to quit. It was the worst. And so pushing me to go on methotrexate, in the beginning, I avoided it, hence the 7 weeks. And then finally, I gave in, but I kind of had an understanding of what it was, but I did not want to look into it. And I didn't have social media at the time. So we didn't have what we have now. The internet wasn't what we have now, which is incredible. There's so much information out there. Like I can just do hashtag methotrexate on Instagram and find a ton of pictures, videos, and information. I just gave the drug to my mom and I said, please read the side effects. I don't want to know. So I, st- because I'm scared. So I started the drug. And I will say, I did feel like a lab rat when it came to going to the rheumatologist because they just throw so many drugs at you. And a lot of them didn't have good bedside manner, and mine didn't. So I just felt really defeated and awful. So I do want to put that out there. If that's how you feel, maybe get a second opinion. They may tell you to take methotrexate, but maybe they'll sit with you and talk with you through it. Because most of the people who reach out to me on Instagram about methotrexate say they got the drug, but they're too afraid to start. And so I would say sit down with your doctor and ask a ton of questions. Let them all know what you're afraid of, and they'll talk you through it. And they're going to monitor you closely while you start it. So I decided to start it, and I didn't tolerate it very well. But in my mind, for some reason, I didn't have the option to opt out. So I thought I had to do it no matter what. So for me, I just felt very hungover. I had migraines, I had nausea. I would get to the point where I thought I was going to throw up and never did. Um, at this point, I didn't know that it was a very low dose of chemo, and it's so low to the point that I don't even think we're allowed to call it that, but it's what it is. But it's so
Yeah.
low. But I've been
I
on
think
the
we're very
highest.
quick to call it
Yeah,
that, and I think unfortunately
yeah,
that's where it gets a bit stigmatized,
it
isn't it? And
does.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because people say it's like a low dose of chemo, and I'm guilty of it. I said it all the time in the beginning of my Instagram journey, but that it's not that because it's so low. It's 25 milligrams or less, and 25 is the highest that we can go on. I believe cancer patients take like 100 or more. Like, I
yeah, it can
there's
be like in four figures as well. I think like if you're
oh
doing
my
it
god.
intravenously and stuff like that, and I think as well, it's like it's that lack of education, like you say, when you went on it, you didn't have nothing. I only
Mm,
had my doctor to listen to. I was just a
yeah,
kid, going on it. I think I was 14 about that sort of time when I started it. And I think that's why when we'll come on to the social media stuff that you do a bit later, but I think that's why it's really important, like how you show your lifestyle, how you're living with these medications. Because I know when I first started getting into social media, it was just a horror show. People took those side effects and they didn't talk about the benefits. They didn't talk about the 14-year-old Joel who was on a wheelchair, took me for Trexate and suddenly wasn't in a wheelchair. So I think we have like a big responsibility, don't we, in these spaces? So yeah, we will come on to that, but I just want to jump in there and say a big thank you for what you do, showing a life with these drugs, to try and counter some of that. Because it sounds
yeah.
like you've encountered it as well as myself.
Yeah, the first time I started bringing awareness, no, I joined a Facebook support group, and it ended up being a bunch of ladies in their 80s, and I was like, "I'm starting methotrexate," and the first thing someone said to me was, "Oh, my brother died because of that." And I was like, "This is not where I need to live." Like,
Yeah, no, yeah.
yeah, it was I was like, "I need to speak to someone my age because I don't need to speak to an 80-year-old woman about this." Yeah, it was nuts.
It's exactly why we stream on Twitch and do the podcast, because like we run Facebook groups and that works for lots of people, and there might be people watching this live on Facebook who are in those support groups, but we've got to do more, I think, to try and create spaces where people feel comfortable getting that information on a level that is a peer to them. And I had similar experiences, as a kid with arthritis, sent to village halls, community groups where it's basically just people in a circle complaining about how much everything hurt, and it was kind of this window into my future I didn't want. So yeah, I'm sorry you had that experience, but it's so
Yeah, I
common.
laugh about it now, but at the time I was like, "I need community, this is rough."
Yeah. So it sounds like then for me, for Trexate, that's been like a long-term option for you. Obviously there are their peaks and troughs with that, and like I say, it worked beautifully for me until it didn't, and everything. So in terms of like how you learned to live with the disease, because obviously life changes, doesn't it? You're a kid with this condition, then you become a young adult, university, then you become a full-blown adult, and I'm always quite keen to point out to people that the condition label, whatever, might not change, but our experience with it through our life journey with it does. So, can you maybe talk for a little bit about how over the years that's changed, its impact, or, how something as a problem now that wasn't when you were younger, or vice versa?
Yeah. So what I'll talk about is, I guess, like work to begin with, because when it came back, I was in a job and I've grown so much. So little me, 21-year-old me in her first job out of school, I woke up one day not being able to walk, right? So my knee was so swollen and I tried to hide it with jeans. I put my tight jeans on, I tried to hide it. And I went to work and I was limping. Like I didn't want to tell anybody because I was too afraid to get fired, which you can't do. It's illegal.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like trying to hide it. And I'll never forget this. The guy I was working with, my coworker, was like, "You better hide that, or else they're gonna notice and they're gonna let you go." And I was panicked. I was like, "Oh my god, this is my first job. Like, I can't let my chronic illness get in the way." And then suddenly, like a producer on the show realized I was limping, and she's like, "I can see your knee is swollen. Are you okay?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I have RA." And they were so nice about it. I did not get fired. I actually got upgraded. They let me drive the car the whole day. And the guy that told me to watch out had to do all of the heavy lifting. And karma, and I remember like karma's awful. And so now, so even then after that, I still wasn't confident to let my employer know I have RA.
Mhm.
And even yesterday, I was applying to like a part-time job and just like for some social media work. And it said, "Do you want to notate that you have an autoimmune disease such as arthritis?" And I clicked no. And then I was like, No, no. And then I was like, no, I do have it. I bring awareness about it. I clicked yes. And so
Yeah,
I was like, you know what? No. So I've really like grown over the years to just accept the fact that I have a chronic illness and I'm very vocal about it. And I'm no longer afraid to talk about it and like let my employer know. Like when I was working at a gym, I had to start infusions and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna have to take one Thursday off a month. Like this is what it is. I wasn't asking, I was telling.
yeah.
So, so yeah, so over the journeys, it's been really hard with work and dealing with that. But I feel like the older I get, the more wise I get and the more badass I feel. And I'm no longer afraid to talk about it and to bring awareness about it. I mean, there are so many people with autoimmune diseases. I'm sure your employer may know one or two. So yeah, but it's been a journey. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and that is awesome you had that experience, because like I say, we get a lot of bad experiences, and unfortunately it takes that one bad experience to then cloud your, like, I'm 40 years old this year and I still think every time I have a day off because of my arthritis I'm going to get fired, and
Yeah.
then I have to talk my auto sort of like thinking out of that, and it is
Hmm.
all because of something that happened, like especially I think for us when you develop these conditions as kids. I spent a year in a wheelchair as a kid with my arthritis,
Mm.
and the experiences you have as a kid in high school, secondary school, wherever you call it, what part of the world you're in, I don't think you'll get comments that can top the comments you get from kids at that age, unfortunately,
Yeah. Oh my God.
and and unfortunately that carries on it for me anyway. It carried on into adulthood, so then the minute I get sick, I can't show weakness, and
Hmm.
this doing the advocacy stuff, and I'm sure doing the stuff you're doing on social media and everything is like, for me, it's almost been like a self-learning exercise. Like, if I've got to practice what I preach, I've got to challenge my instant thoughts sort of thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad you had a good experience, because it's not always the case.
It's not. No, it's not. And yeah, again, I do practice what you preach. Like, even when I go to the doctors, I'm like, I need to advocate for myself. I literally talk about this all the time. Like, yeah, we do need to practice what we preach. So yeah.
I spend all day answering DMs telling people what they should ask and say, and then I see my rheumatologist that I've had since I was 12 years old, so he's like a second father figure, and I completely freeze up. Like, it's embarrassing. Everyone would unfollow me on social media if they saw me in the rheumatologist room, because I just look like a fraud. But it's that relationship, it's that history, it's that the stigma and the baggage that you carry, with
Mhm.
these things. So yeah, sometimes it's easier said than done, but I'm working
It
on
is.
it.
Me too.
so so obviously you were a sparring swimmer and everything else, and you had these plans, and then an arthritis happened. How did you adjust, and how long
Mm.
did it take you, if you haven't got there already, I suppose, like, how long does it take you to sort of like refocus what your goals are with arthritis?
Yeah, so this actually has happened 3 times in my life now. So the first was with swimming, and I had to give up that dream, and I was doing so well my sophomore year with swimming. My coach was so excited. We were talking about universities, and then that junior year is when it went downhill. So I made peace with the idea I wasn't going to university for it. It wasn't that bad because swimming is really hard. So I was kind of relieved. I was like, I could take a step back now and focus on other things. So that was my first time. So it wasn't that bad. The second time was when I was on the production show and the knee got swollen, that I had to realize that I can't be on set. So I went to school for film, and my goal was to be on set on TV and film. And because I couldn't walk and I knew I had joint damage, I quickly realized I could not go into that field, and I was panicked. And I fought so hard to be able to, but I had just had surgery, and that's when I moved to Atlanta, which is a huge film hub. It's where I lived for the past 7 years. And I was applying to jobs there. I was like, I need to accept the fact that I'm gonna have to get a desk job. It can be in film, but it's gonna have to be sitting down. So I ended up becoming an extras casting director, which is in an office. So I kept my dream, but had to switch it a little bit. I still wish I was able to go on set, but you know what? It was out of my control and I couldn't do it. I was proud of myself that I still got into the film industry, but had to sit down. And then the third time is actually very recent. So I'm a personal trainer, and I was working at a gym for 2 years, and my health has recently declined with the second thing I'm trying to get diagnosed with. And I, again, quickly realized I can't wake up at 4 a.m. every day and hit the gym and start teaching a group class at 5:30 and then have clients the whole day. And when you're a trainer, you pick up the weights, you put the weights away, you set everything up. And even though in the past I taught people with chronic illness, at this gym particularly, I only had like one client with a chronic illness. Then I had 25 others who were completely fine and bench pressing much weight that I couldn't lift. So I quickly realized I'm going to have to make a change. I no longer can do this lifestyle. I can no longer get up early. And it hurt a little bit and it stung, but I had my little mourning period, which we can always have. Like, we mourn, what we were able to do. And then that's when I left the gym and created my own fitness app. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do what I can do on this app. And I made some programs on the app. Recently, I was like, I'm going to make a dumbbell program. I wasn't able to do the dumbbell program. So I got really sad and really upset. And I was like, you know what? Let me do like a flare friendly program because I'm sure lots of people would understand. So I try to like make it positive, even though I have that negative feeling. I'm not going to lie. Like I'm not perfect. And we do need to feel those feelings or else they're going to be tucked away inside of us. But yeah, so it's been 3 times, but I'm still learning, like we
Yes.
always are.
Yeah, and that morning thing, I'm still right in there, and we can now go on to the fitness talk because I'm going to be listening really carefully because as someone that had that period where I was in denial a little bit and done lots of sport. I haven't come back out from that pandemic
Mm,
place of like,
mm.
and the weight went on and the movement stopped, and I walk my dog lots now, and I tick that and use that as a bit of an excuse. But
No, but
I
that's
know
good.
it's, yeah, but I'm well aware it isn't. I went from playing rugby and cycling and running and all these things that I now can't do. So,
Mm.
what was there a thing that changed it for you? Was it just getting over that morning period or adapting, or was there just something that sparked you into I'm going to get back to being more mobile and I'm going to do the fitness thing and help other people?
Yeah, so I actually got back into it because I was suffering from a lot of anxiety. This was back in 2018. We lost a family member and it was really hard and I had a lot of anxiety. I didn't know what to do with all that anxiety. And so I was on Instagram, the power of social media, and I saw a girl my age who had RA who was working out. And I was like, how on earth is this girl working out? Like, I don't understand. Like, I get up and I'm sore. So I reached out to her and she was like, do this program with me. Like, we'll do it together. We'll be each other's accountability partners. And I had completely given up working out. I went from being almost like a semi professional swimmer to nothing, to like sitting on my butt, doing nothing, barely moved, just thinking I couldn't. So I was like, okay, I'm going to commit and she's going to be my person. So I did the 6 week program that we were doing. And by the 6th week, I would have no morning stiffness when I woke up. And I was seeing the benefits. I was like, oh, this is why the doctors tell us to work out. This is why my mom was telling me to work out. Like, oh my God, I was wrong. Like, and it was just like a light bulb went up. And I was like, oh my God. So when you strengthen the muscles surrounding the joint, you live easier. And I was like, this is nice. And the work I was doing was body weight. So I didn't have to lift weights. I was just kind of like bouncing around and I modified as needed. And that was the wake up call. And then I became obsessed because I felt better. So I can always thank her because she kept me accountable. She would text me like, "Did you do it?" It would be like 10 p.m. and I was like, "I'm gonna go do it." But
I
so
need one of
yes,
those.
yeah, yes, I will
And
be your person.
yeah, and you would terrify me, and I'd do it. I know I would because of your energy
Yes.
and enthusiasm. But it's so true what you said about the muscles. So I had a physio tell me this. So I had lots of back and neck problems over the last couple of years. I was convinced I was flaring. I was convinced there was something going on. Got lots of scans, and ultimately they found, apart from a little bit of historic damage, it's simply the fact that I went from being 11 stone, I can't put that into kilograms, let's say 75 kilo sort of rugby player, to 90 kilo now. And the physio was saying like everything is now unsupported. All your joints are unsupported, your spine is unsupported, everything was really tight, and now it's not. And that was really hard to hear.
Hmm.
But I needed to hear it, and I found myself having these conversations with other people. Like, well, they'll be raging at me about, they went to rheumatologists and they said, lose weight, moves more. And yes, there is more delicate ways that some of them doctors can put it. And I know they're
Hmm.
not always great at that. And I've been on the end of that, but there is method in that madness, in that, every time, I forgot, there's a calculation, isn't there? For every pound of weight you're carrying, it's so many pounds extra pressure on a
I think it's
joint and
like
all this.
5 pounds. Yeah, it's like 1 pound
Yeah.
off is like 5 pounds on your knee. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and all that
Hmm.
sort of stuff. And yeah, it's a really hard thing to hear. And
Hmm.
the trouble I've had is I've dipped in and out of it. So I've had periods, I've had summers, normally when the weather's better, I've got a little bit back into running, and the knees have been fine. The back's ached a bit, but the knees have been fine. And there's no reason not to. There's no reason not to cycle. I've got an awesome bike sitting right beside me and all this sort of thing. So what's your advice, I suppose, for someone like me for keeping on the path, because I've made them little gains and then I've had a bad day and then it's all fell off again.
Yeah. Oh my God, I could talk about this all day, but also, like, going back to, like, the way the doctors say it, they need, like, resources, like, I wish they could,
Yeah.
like, throw to people, like, our profiles or something and, like, say, like, "Here's community, here's where you can ask
Yes.
questions," because they don't do that. They have these little pamphlets that nobody cares about, and it's, like, these little cartoon characters, like, no. So they need to
They
do
know how to
better about that.
prescribe pills. They don't know how to prescribe living with the
Yes.
condition and peer support and
Yeah.
all that 24/7 stuff, isn't it?
They don't care, and there's a reason they don't care, because 'cause they're not, they don't have time. They only have
Yeah,
15 minutes with
yeah,
patient, they give you the meds, they're like, "Bye." But they need to at least guide you to somebody who's like, "Let me show you how to live with this," because I get so, and I'm sure you do in our DMs, like,
yeah,
asking questions, because they don't know anybody with it, and you and I were both, and we were both young, we didn't know. We didn't have social media. So yeah, so getting into fitness can sound scary. And I think when doctors or family members or anybody tells you to start working out, people immediately first kind of get a little offended and they're like, no, I can't do that. Stop thinking I can. And then second, they think working out is like CrossFit. They think working out is going to the gym and lifting a barbell. I'm a trainer and I don't even lift a barbell. Okay. They're scary, they're intimidated. And I get that. I was also scared and intimidated when I started, which is why I started with a program in the comfort of my own home that was body weight. And I was just watching it on TV. So fitness can look like so many different things. Fitness could be dancing in your chair. Fitness could be putting on a Beyonce album and dancing throughout the entire album. Fitness can be walking your dog to start. Fitness can be doing a fast walk. It could be using bands. It could be dancing with your kids. It can look like anything you want it to look. And I say that's the way you should start. Start easier. Don't start with an intense, hard program that you're probably not going to keep up with because you're probably not going to like it. You got to pick something you're going to like. Like the one I did was with a trainer called Shanti. I adore Shanti. I love him. He makes me laugh. He gets me motivated. He makes me cry. I love him. So I stuck with it because I loved the program. I was able to do the program, and I could modify too. So I think starting with something you love, like dancing or walking, is a good way to start. And the thing is that nobody wants to do is staying consistent. That's the
yeah.
hardest part. Yeah, that's the main thing. If you could take anything from what I'm saying about getting started, is staying as consistent as you possibly can. And I know it's hard. I'm reading the Atomic Habits book, and it's teaching me great things about starting healthy habits. But if you can find yourself an accountability buddy, like Joel, I'll be your accountability buddy. I'll text you every day and be like, let's go. Did you go walk your dog? And yeah, so I'll be
Yeah.
there. So getting an accountability buddy, but also an accountability buddy that gets it. Like Joel and I get each other because we understand our chronic illness. If you get an accountability partner who's like going to CrossFit, they might not get it if you wake up and you say, my joints are stiff. They're going to be like, I don't really understand. Just go work out anyway. Get somebody who could be like, I understand your joints are stiff. So why don't you sit in your chair and do like some stretches? Our limbs, they weigh something. If you want to kind of like get those joints, that's what I would say as an accountability partner. Get moving. You can fall off your program, but just get moving. So getting someone who gets it. So consistency and an accountability buddy and finding a program you really enjoy. Those are the three main things.
Yeah, that's awesome advice, and I'm going to clip that as well and apply it to myself. I think for me as well, it's having them honest conversations with yourself as well. So, for example, like I know, like so, I've got a dog. I have to walk my dog, so therefore, the thing I did last year is I added 2 miles a day on, and that's made a big difference. There's no, I think the big issue I have is I benchmark. So I benchmark to when I was playing rugby or when I was
Mm,
cycling 100
mm,
miles, and I struggle to take the win. That okay, you've added 2 miles a day to your thing.
mhm.
But I think that for me, it's them honest conversations. So, for example, I will hide behind my advocacy. I know I do that. My wife will tell you I do that. So it'll be like, oh, I didn't have time to do exercise today, but look at all these people I might have helped. And it's kind of like
Yeah.
this. And I know that's an excuse, and I think that's half the battle. Now I'm having those conversations with myself. It's kind of then doing the commitment and the consistency bit that you talk about, isn't it?
It's hard. It's hard, and I hide behind it too, and I'm a trainer, like, I fall off as well. What I will say is do your exercise first thing in the morning so you have no excuse throughout the day. If you get it done right when you get out of bed, you're done. You got it. You
Ah,
ticked it off. You're fine. So,
so
yeah.
true. You'll talk yourself out of it, won't you? I've
Yeah.
absolutely done that. I'll go to the gym tonight or whatever it looks like. And whatever that event is, you can talk yourself out of it. I'll do it with
Yep.
streaming. I do it with the show. If I wake
Mhm.
up, I'm not feeling great, by about midday, I've already talked myself out of it. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a really
Yeah.
good
Do it
point.
first thing. Put your shoes, like, put your trainers next to your bed with your outfit on before you even get up to pee and brush your teeth. Get that outfit on, and you're good. You're gonna go out and do something, walk your dog, dance, go to the gym, whatever it is. You gotta get it done.
Yeah, that's a really good advice. I had somebody tell, I think it was like a CBT well-being kind of guy I was seeing, and he said something similar. It just pick an activity that requires the least amount of steps because they're all
Yes.
steps that you could fall, and that's why they've done the dog walking thing. It's literally I've got to do it anyway, and I'm already out. So how much harder is it to add the extra distance? Whereas like cycling, I love my cycling, but not being funny. By the time I've got the bike out, I've got all the gear.
Mhm.
There's so many opportunities to talk yourself out of it, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, with you walking the dog, because I'm reading the Atomic Habits book, and this isn't from me, this is from the book. It's saying, like, add the good habits to something you already do daily, because that's how you're like, after you shower, do this, or after you walk your dog, do this. So for you, after you walk your dog, maybe stretch, or after you walk your dog, do 10 squats, or, like, or in
Yeah, yeah,
between you're
yeah.
walking the dog, do the 10 squats. Just add it onto something you have to do every day, and then you'll start to like it, and then you can add on to that. So,
Yeah, brilliant.
yeah.
No, that's really good advice. I got distracted by someone in the chat that said, "No, we're going to put Beyonce's album on and throw some shapes." But yeah, brilliant. Exactly that. I
Love it.
know them as well, so I'm going to picture them doing that.
Love it. Be their accountability partner. I will too.
Yeah,
I love Beyonce. I'll join you. We'll get on a Zoom and we'll dance.
yeah, sounds good. So I've put a link in the chat for anyone watching live to your website, to the app, and I'll do the same in the podcast show notes, etc. But for anyone that's sort of just come across this for the first time, Ali, what can they expect to find there? Like, is it arthritis, chronic illness, like adapted focused, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so my app that I just started last July on my birthday, I was really excited. It is for people of all fitness levels, but I did start it from the mindset of chronic illness. But anybody who doesn't have a chronic illness can come still do it, and I'll explain that in a second. But what I started was kind of what I started with my own fitness. I wanted to make my own programs that like that body weight Shanti thing that I did. It's not as intense as his because I knew I could modify when I did his. So I took that and I was like, if I were to start over, let me make the program of what I would do. So the first program on there is called, I love the word slay. So it's called like chair slay. Okay. So you're working out, but you're sitting down. This is really great for if people have flares in their lower body, which for me is what I had with my knee. So all of the workouts are from your chair and you can do a lot even with your legs too. The second program is body weight. And this is where people of all fitness levels can do it. So if you're a spoonie like us, it's fantastic for you. But if you're not a spoonie and you want to make it harder, you just pick up weights and you do the exact same thing. Like I did a day from my body weight sleigh, but I added like 10-pound weights and I was exhausted after. I was like, oh my goodness. But the body weight program helps you get ready to start picking up those weights, and it teaches you the movements, and it teaches you how to do it, and also accountability, and also do it and get through the not the pain but the discomfort. So I do actually have like a podcast on there in the body weight program. So you do the program and then I actually talk to you twice a week. It's kind of like this, like you pop your headphones in, you go for a walk. It's called Walk and Talk, and I talk you through it. I give you tips and tricks on how to stay consistent. And then there's a band program because that's how you work your way up, right? You're in your chair, you do body weight, you do bands. And then starting this year, I'm going to do actually classes live and uploaded. So right now it's just the program written for you and the workout itself. That's when you put Beyonce on and you start doing your own thing. And I show you how to do each move. There's a little clip that like goes around and it shows you how to do the move. But starting this year, I'm going to do full classes. They may be live, they may be uploaded, but you're going to have a ton of classes. I'm going to try to film every single day because I'll be filming my workout. So you'll be doing a workout like whatever I'm doing. And there are days when I'm not going to be able to pick up weight, and that's fine. There's days where I will, and that's cool. But I'm going to show you modifications because when I was a trainer and I was applying to gyms, most of the gyms I went to didn't offer modifications. And I'm the modification queen, baby. So it will be for all levels, whether you've been in fitness for a while or whether you're just starting out, you're welcome. You can even come and sit and stretch and not do what I'm doing and just listen to me talk. Like we could just hang out. So basically that's what it is. And I'm very proud and excited about it, but I want to upload more. So there's going to be a lot more this year.
Oh, it's just awesome, and like I say, it's really inspiring for someone like me. I've been following you on social media. We've been interacting for well, feels like an age now, but it's at least 3 or 4 years, and a lot has happened in the world since then. And just having that check in, almost, even if we're not communicating with somebody that's moving and doing well, talking about the challenges as well, but you know, looking good and moving and all that sort of stuff for me has really helped, especially with the world that social media can be. Like we all know, if I go and post tomorrow a picture of me having a really bad day, that's probably going to do a lot better than me celebrating something. Yeah, unfortunately, that is the world we're in. So
Yes.
yeah, I just personally, and for anyone else that's watching this that has had a similar journey with yourself and your content, yeah, just a big thank you, because I've needed that with some of the things in my feed, and particularly some of the things in my DMs as well. I've
Yeah.
needed that positivity.
Yeah, we need it. And what you're saying is exactly true. I post like a video of having a really hard day as well. And then I'm like really excited working out and it does nothing. And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah,
Social media can be a little scary from our side. Yeah, like it's from the creator
I
side. It's
did.
probably
I did an experiment one day, and I wish I had, because it just confirmed exactly. And I was actually wearing the same T-shirt, and I was having a really bad day of my psoriasis, and this was covered. And I thought, in any reality, that should almost like turn people off or whatever, and you'd expect people to unfollow you. And it was a
Mhm,
complete opposite. Me showing a really bad day, my skin was terrible, confidence was on the floor, and it all took off. And then the
mhm.
next day, I celebrated. I can't remember if it was music or a sport, an achievement, or something like that. And I tried to do the same look, the same. So that I was wearing the same clothes, etc. Nothing, dead, not like 9 likes. And I thought,
Why do you think that
yeah,
is? Like,
I
why
don't.
why
Yeah,
is it like that?
I don't know, because on the street it's the opposite, isn't it? You
Yeah.
go, the stigma I face of having something visible like psoriatic arthritis, and I'm sure with your RA, if a knee blows up or whatever, on the street I find it's the opposite. But social media in our community is this weird little bubble where you
Yeah.
know, and the same as a man talking about mental health, that is the biggest turn off for anyone. I don't know why. Like, I think it's quite powerful and empowering. I like to think that
Mhm,
if I was sitting where I was 4 years ago in a really bad place with my mental health from my condition, and I always describe my mental health as a comorbidity. I'm not depressed when I'm not flaring, sort of thing. And
mhm.
I find it quite empowering and liberating. But no, it's the complete opposite. That is like the biggest turn off. But you can share pictures of your rashes and it blows up. It's surreal.
It's weird. I don't think I'll ever understand it. Like, I need
No,
somebody to
no.
dumb it down for me because it doesn't make sense. Yeah, I don't
No,
know.
it doesn't. And like I say, when we talk about the stigmas and stuff, and I think sometimes I'm always worried about what we do as well, about preaching to the choir, which is why it was music to my ears where you said what you're doing with your fitness stuff is for anyone, like that broad. Because I will go to conferences, and you'll have those conferences about lived experience or whatever, and they're the empty ones. Them rooms are empty because
Mhm.
the people that are there are already converted. And I think that can happen sometimes on social media, where people that want to see the bad side of our condition are already converted. They're
Yeah.
embracing it, etc. And the ones that only want to do the celebratory, thriving kind of thing, switch off from all of that. So I think that's where we have to work hard to broaden the work we do. And I think that's why what you're doing is really good, because coming back to what we said earlier in the show with the methotrexate thing, it would be so easy just to take to social media and talk about how terrible that is, how it can
Mhm.
make you sick and what it does to you, the physical effects. We've all been there. I remember I had a shower once, and I thought, because man, losing my hair and everything, I blamed for a lot of years methotrexate for me losing my hair. Obviously wasn't, but it's genetic, and everyone in
Mhm.
my family's in the same position. But if I had social media back then, I could have took to social media and just talked about that negative thing, not all the positives. So yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, bit of a social media rant
No,
there,
I love
but
that. No, it needs to
all of
be
that to
talked about.
say,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're
yeah,
doing
yeah.
is really inspiring, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. I think also what it could be when we're talking about, like, people only want the negativity, and I'm guilty of this, like, I would see my friends go off of methotrexate, and I would get really jealous, like, I would be really like, "Oh, I wanna do that," and they would be so excited and, like, celebrating and jumping up and down, and I was like, "Oh, I wish that was me," but then I would have that thought for, like, 2 minutes, and I would be excited for them, but I'm wondering if that's, like, why people don't wanna join our excitement, because 'cause they're like, that's not me." But you gotta, like, not think like that, right? And, like, think that that can be you, and also we should be excited, and then that girl ended up going back on it. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard. I think that's the
yeah.
only way we can look at it.
Yeah, no, there's definitely, we talked about mourning already tonight, and I think that emotion is quite a
Mm,
strong one in our experience, especially with the remittent flare cycle. We can feel like we're missing out, and I've been guilty of that, being jealous of what someone's able to do compared
mm,
to what I could do on any particular day. But it is important, I think, to stress that it's on any given day, and we both know our journeys change with our juvenile arthritis. No
yeah.
one day is the same, is it?
No, no. We could be fine one day and tomorrow it's, like, rough, so yeah.
Yeah. I'm conscious of your time, but I just want to ask like one sort of final sort of question, and feel free to talk about your app and plug that as much as you like as well. As I have put it in the notes for anyone who wants to see it. But like, how do you respond then to those setbacks? Because we know what that's like with arthritis. We don't know what next week looks like, and sometimes it's like wading through water, and then other days things just work. So how do you respond on your fitness journey with they're inevitable setbacks, aren't they? It's
Yeah.
nothing you did; it's just going to happen. Yeah, how do you respond to that?
Oh, it's so funny you asked me this because yesterday I had a realization like about this. I was like, I'm just going to accept where I'm at right now and be proud. So for me as a trainer, my goal, I'm a really tiny person. I don't know if you could tell, but my goal and being a fitness person, and I follow a ton of trainers, everyone's really built. So for years, I'm talking like 5 years, my goal was to get like thick, like to gain muscle and to get muscle mass and to look thick. And I did get there when I was in medicated remission and I weighed like extra 15 pounds. I was so excited. But because my health has declined, I'm back to like weighing 100. And I'm like, for a while, I was like, oh my God, I look so thin. Like, I don't look like I have muscle. I was panicking and I was like, this is not what I want. I kept trying. And then suddenly this holiday, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna move the way I can and be kind of proud of it. Like I may be 100 pounds, but also like I'm gonna still move and embrace it. Like I think and I don't want to say accept the fact because things can always change with us. But in the moment, I accepted the fact that I'm not going to have huge muscles and the aesthetics that I want, and to get really thick. Like I'm going to accept it. I might have it in the future. So I think for me to accept it and how I get over those setbacks is to be okay with where I'm at and proud of where I'm at and think that I'm just proud to get moving. And then also you can accept it now, but know that it's still possible to do it in the future. No one's telling you that it's not achievable. Like I may feel like ass right now because of my chronic illness, but I could be the person I was 3 years ago. Like I was in a medicated remission. That's possible. No one's telling me it's not going to happen. So, I'm going to accept it. I'm going to be proud. I'm going to keep moving. And when it's available for me to feel like that, maybe I can strive for that in the future. But it's really hard to accept it and to be proud of where you're at because we tend to mourn our past selves. And like I was thick at one point, and now I'm not. But now I'm just like I'm cool with it. So this literally happened yesterday for anybody listening. But
That
yeah,
is
no,
that
it's
mental
hard.
battle, though, isn't it? And
It is.
unfortunately, our physical condition affects the way we see and think about ourselves, especially for someone like me who I have psoriasis, or if you've got the visible, effects of RA and everything, it totally warps the way we can see ourselves sometimes. And
Mhm.
and and yeah, I think it's like that human nature because I look at what you're doing, I look at your social media, and I'm super jealous of how tiny you are. But I know when I go back 4 or 5 years ago when I was this skinny winger on a rugby pitch, I wanted to be the big guy, and I wish I was as big as
Yes.
him. And now I've got the all right, it's not muscle, but I've got the bulk, and
Yeah.
I want completely the opposite. So I think
Yeah.
unfortunately we're always chasing something,
We're
aren't we?
always chasing something that we don't have, no matter what. Like I could be bulky and I'm like, oh, I want to go back to being like smaller. Or, we're always going to want that. I think we just need to be happy with where we're at and just proud of that we're trying, because every day is hard. We just need to be proud that we wake up and get moving somehow because it's hard.
Yeah, and with messages like that, it's exactly why you do so well and connect with so many people, Ali. I'm super grateful for your time. I feel like this should have happened a long while ago.
I
So thank you
know.
for. It's my fault. I totally should have
No, mine
asked a lot
too.
earlier.
Like
I just
imposter
got
syndrome
it.
is real. When you talked
Yeah,
about that, I have it, especially in the training world. It is a big thing. But listen, don't have ask anybody. Who cares?
yeah,
Like,
I'm
yeah.
that is my thing for this year. Like, so we had some like world leading doctors joined
Hmm.
us
I saw.
recently, and they came to me to ask to come on, and that was it. It's like open the floodgates. I'm now going out and trying to get what I want. feel
Yeah.
like you're doing the fitness. I'm doing it with this talk show. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for accepting. I'm sorry I didn't ask a lot earlier, and also yeah, just on behalf of anyone else that was in my position, especially during the pandemic, your content and your the work you're doing on social media really did pick me up at times when there was a lot of doom scrolling going on and a lot of people willing to provide the content for that doom scrolling. So yeah, thank you for all that you've done on social media. And I suppose I should at this point give the opportunity for you to tell people where they can find you on it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on here. Yeah, I should have asked you a while back because we've been talking for years, but thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. You can find me on Instagram. It's Another Day with RA. If you're not in the chronic illness world, it looks like Another Day with Raw, but yeah, it's Another Day with RA. That's my Instagram and my TikTok and my YouTube as well, which I started and stopped. So you're motivating me to get back to it. So I'll make some silly YouTube videos. But yeah, you can find me there. My fitness app is also on there. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you for anyone watching this live for all the lovely comments that are now coming in. Really appreciate it. I'm trying to share as many as possible. Ali, I will let you go now to enjoy the rest of your day, not evening where you are. Thank you so much for joining me, particularly so early into the new year. And I wish you all the best on your journey. And I'll be checking out your fitness app shortly.
Yes, and I will be your accountability buddy from now on. I will text you when you walk your dog. So yes.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. Right. Enjoy the rest of
Thank
your day,
you.
Ali. Thank you for
Bye.
joining us.
Thanks everybody.
Bye bye. Guys, let me just bring the chat back on. There's some really lovely comments in there, guys. They'll no display on screen if you've been holding that thought. So thank you so much for that. I hope you enjoyed it. Ali was about. We know anyone that's followed Ali on social media would know that she's an absolute natural. I always feel like I'm learning on the job doing all of this. But Ali's just an absolute natural, and you can see why she's resonated with so many people online. So if you haven't already, please go check out Ali. There will be links when the video for this goes up of the interview only, and when the podcast episode comes out, there will be links to where you can find Ali and the fitness stuff. And I think you can get a free trial as well. When I looked earlier today on Ali's fitness app, so go check that out. And you're more than welcome, Ali. Thank you for the message you've just sent me. You're more than welcome. I felt, I agree with Valerie. That felt so comfortable and natural. I was saying to Ali before we went live that sometimes these shows can ruin my sundown. I don't mean that to sound terrible, like it probably does. I care about this stuff. I'm passionate about it. I put in a lot of hours outside of the day job to do advocacy, and this show was kind of like the pinnacle bit for me. But there's a lot that can go wrong, and you invest a lot of time. People don't see how long it takes to set up the event and the posters and the social media stuff and the technical side of things and all that sort of stuff. But when you get somebody that who comes on that you just consider just part of the furniture, you've known them for so long, you've interacted with them for so long, it can feel easy. And from the minute me and Ali started talking tonight before we went live, right through that interview, just felt, I don't know, the time has flown. I looked down and realized we'd gone past 45 minutes, and I absolutely had to sort of like quickly wrap that up because we could have talked all night, which is the sign of the best interviews, guys. So hopefully that came across for you guys as well. Lisa, thank you for your lovely comments. Barry, great to see you in. I always forget people are watching on LinkedIn. Like this is the relaxed Sunday night Joel. This isn't the professional Joel, just for anyone getting confused. I think I have three personalities. I have the advocate speaking Joel, I have the YouTube Joel, and then the really true relaxed warts and all me on Twitch. If you ever go and watch us over on Twitch when we're playing computer games, that's the real me right there. But I find I'm just blending all three into one now. I'm kind of at this point in my advocacy journey with all of this where I don't care. You either like it or you don't, and it's so nice to be relaxed. And people like Ali really do help me be relaxed, and you awesome people as well in chat. So thank you for joining me on a Sunday night. I really do appreciate it. I know it's not always the best time for everyone. So yeah, I've had a very long weekend. My 4-year-old's sick. He's probably gonna have to go to doctors tomorrow. It's his birthday next Saturday as well. So we're really hoping we can get on top of that before that, because of how the pandemic and lockdowns have fallen in the UK. He had his first birthday party, and then there was basically 2 Januaries where he couldn't. We could do stuff. We couldn't have like a party. So we're finally having a birthday party for his 5th birthday party next week, and he's ill a week out, and I'm terrified on his behalf. So yeah, it's been a long weekend. So thanks for everyone that's dropped in tonight, because that's really picked me up, as you guys always do. Like every time I go all day stressing about this on a Sunday, and my wife has to pick me up for a lot of that to get me live. And then when we go live, we find it's just the most awesome space with the most awesome people. Sin, thank you for dropping in. Thank you, Amy, as well. I don't think I got a chance to say hello to you earlier. Valerie, I think I did acknowledge you earlier, but thank you for that absolutely lovely comment. Yeah, that did. That felt like we could be a force to be reckoned with, me and Ali. I think we could get anyone to listen to the lived experience concerns of people with arthritis. So I hope, and Ali agrees as well in chat, so that's good. But yeah, if you'd like to see her back, then I can already tell you're going to say a big yes to this. But if you'd like us to do more together, guys, then please do let us know, because I'm all for that, especially with my new found, it's not confidence, it feels very fraudulent confidence. I don't know what the word is for that, but where I'm now putting my hand up and asking for things rather than things coming to me on this advocacy journey. Sorry, my camera's doing this weird thing. I will get that fixed for next time. For anyone that's done the whole streaming thing, it's an absolute money pit. Just when you think you got everything sorted, a mic goes wrong, or a camera goes wrong, or a light breaks, or you need a new PC. It's just an absolute money pit. It would have been cheaper if I'd have got into go-kart racing with Formula One aspirations than the journey I'm on right now. But yeah, I'm aware of the camera going a little bit blurry. I'll try and fix it for next week. Joel doing a workout value on stream. I'm not getting talked into. I got talked into doing a cook along, and then it never happened. So the thought of me, could you imagine me doing it, but in Lycra as well, like crop top the work, Simon? That'd be right up your street. Again, Joel, remind yourself you're going live on LinkedIn. But Simon would absolutely pay good money for that, as I know him. And by the way, Simon's one of the chaps that has joined us on our actual community meetups, guys. I should probably plug this more. We are now planning our third in-person community meetup, which is amazing. When I started all this and I was just talking to the void, I was blown away the first time somebody came back in the other direction. I never thought we'd be sitting here in 2024 going into our third in-person community meetup. So far we've met up in Norwich. We've done one in Birmingham. We're now planning our next one for Brighton. The only thing we do say is you have to be a member of our Discord, and hopefully if our mods are on the money, they will put a link to our Discords. um, and because obviously we just don't, we need to keep everyone safe. We don't want to just broadcast the place and the date and just any random person turns up. As we had earlier, what you won't know is at the start of that interview, we had a random person trying to join the call, which was a little bit off-putting, but thankfully we stopped that. So yeah, if you're in that part of the world and you would like to get involved and you like this peer support community and they seem like good people to hang out with, Sai, Sinstrom, Amy, Nia. Sin hasn't been joined us, but Amy, Nia, Simon, Selby, you've seen in chat. These are all people that have been with us in person, and it's always an awesome event. We're planning our next one in Brighton, and I'm getting a lot of pressure. Thank you, Nia Cheeks, for the Discord link, guys. You can go join there. If you're watching on a phone, just copy and paste it if the link doesn't work. But yeah, I'm also getting a lot of pressure from our American friends to do a US one as well this year. So I'm trying to sort out a conference on the West Coast, which would mean I could double up with a West Coast US community meetup. So guys, if you have any contacts with, there's a particular obvious conference that happens on the West Coast this year, but there are others. If you think you could help me get to that and to therefore make it worthwhile, because we do all of this out of our own pocket. Big thank you, I should say as well, Sai, massive thank you for the gift membership to I think it was to Sudoku. A massive thank you for that. Really appreciate it. It really does help keep the lights on, guys. Literally in the cost of living and energy crisis. Massive thank you, Sai. Really appreciate that, mate. But yeah, if anyone can help us get over to the US for a community meetup this year, then please let me know. And I'll be doing more of that like I did last year, where if I'm going to a conference, I'll try and double it up to do other stuff whilst I'm in that part of the world. So if anyone's interested in that, please do get in touch. Let us know. Join Discord, though. That's all I ask. We need to get to know you to keep people safe. And you also find there people that join us over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/JoelVersusArthritis. Same name as this YouTube channel, but over on Twitch, where we stream Minecraft. We've got a free-to-play Minecraft platform. And the whole point of that is that we do it purely to create a space. So back again to what me and Ali were talking about, meeting patients where they are. So people that are using computer games to escape from their situation, their pain, whatever it might be, like I do. My wife will know if I have a bad day, I'm going to slouch in front of the TV on the Xbox and switch off. It occurred to me one day, why am I doing this on my own? I could do it socially like we're here tonight. So that's what we do over on Twitch. We play computer games with other people that get it. And we don't always talk about what we're going through like we do so directly on this show. It's there as more of an escapism. So if people know I've got to cancel or I've got to leave early, I ain't got to explain it. If you need more loo breaks or to stretch and move and you're playing games with us, then you don't have to explain why. It's creating that sort of environment. And also this year I'd like to do that in more spaces. So we've got the YouTube show here tonight, we've got the podcast, we've got the Facebook group, we've got the Twitch game and streams. We're now starting to do the in-person stuff. I know there's only so many pairs of hands I've got, but I've got this awesome community behind me, which makes me think we can do anything. If you think of any other space where patients' needs are not being met, where we're not finding patients in a natural space in which they operate to survive, get through their chronic illness, that maybe where patient organizations aren't touching, or because maybe legally or various hoops they have to jump through makes it too difficult for them to help in those spaces, please let me know, because we have got the ability to be agile as independents, as an independent community. We work with lots of awesome organizations, but we know how difficult that can be. For example, if I'm a patient org, I can't just spin up a Minecraft server and let people start playing because of the stuff that maybe goes on in there and the legal implications and everything else. So if we can help in any other way, guys, where we're not meeting your needs, or you think patients are not being reached, then please do let me know. I know these days I'm getting much more into policy stuff and the background stuff that hopefully has a real impact change, but I still really enjoy these forward facing stuff, and would like to do more of it. So if you think there's more that we could do, somebody once suggested doing our own little conference, which terrifies me. But again, if there's a need, I'll seriously consider it. You know what? In the past, someone come into a stream one day and randomly suggested Minecraft, and look what happened there. So that's probably enough waffle from me tonight, guys. Has anyone else got anything to share in chat? As usual, providing I'm well, I'm happy to stick around for as long as people need the peer support. I'm not seeing anything jump out, but please, guys, this is your last sort of call to shout. If you need signposts and do anything, we're not medical professionals. I should stress that. It's on the bottom of every podcast as well. But if guys, just is there anything else that anyone wants to come in, talk about, or share before I leave you all to enjoy the rest of your Sunday evenings? Ali's now heading out. So Ali, thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, and if anyone needs any, has any questions for Ali, go find on her social media, and she'll be more than happy to help. She's super, for somebody with the following that Ali has, she's super, super responsive. I'm really grateful for that. But Ali, enjoy the rest of your day. Safe journey back home as well. And thank you so much for giving up a little bit of your Sunday to join us. I really do appreciate it. Guys, I realised I didn't restart the music. Is it too late to restart? Nah, it's not too late to restart the music. We'll restart the music. Thank you so much for giving up your time tonight, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you for getting involved in the conversation. If you haven't already, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel you're watching on. It really does help. I know everyone says it, but it really does help, guys. And yeah, I will be back. We're not here next Sunday because I say it's my son's birthday at the weekend, and I'm probably going to need some recharge time. But I'll be on Twitch during the week, so go find us over on Twitch. And until next time, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I hope your Monday's a good one. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.